After riding the A train to JFK with Namuna and then taking the local all the way back, there was still no rush for me to get home from the 155th Street station. So I grabbed the broom I had stowed where Amato kept the trash and tried my best to make meditation out of the repetition of the motion of my sweeping. Now the preacher, he smiled at my actions while closing his storefront church. He had soft skin that was puffed out on his face. His voice was nearly gone from his sermon, and now, instead of shouting feverishly into the microphone, he spoke quietly, pronounced each syllable. I've seen you around, doing cleanings in the neighborhood, he said, with his voice strained to make eloquent sounds. My attempts at telling people in my church to pick up after themselves, they have not produced results. Well, I don't mind cleaning up after them, I told him. I'm helping getting something done. That gives me pleasure, you know? I do, he replied. I achieve such a feeling when I hold the microphone. It's why I yell, which I'm sure you've heard spill out of the streets from time to time. He locked up the gate and looked up toward where I had just come from, as if he was looking for somebody. He sighed when no one appeared. Are you hungry, he asked, still looking over my shoulder. I always have such an appetite after one of my sermons, and it's seldom, but not as seldom as it should be, that I indulge in the magnificence of the chicken and pizza place. If you don't have any plans, I could use some company. We headed to the spot where Chicken Bob stood as the late-night host, properly attired in his black and white tuxedo fur. Now I thought about Knight, my boy, who was lucky as hell not to be hanging out in doorways waiting for scraps to fall. Inside, the lights were bright, fluorescent. The man working behind the thick, bulletproof glass knew the preacher well and called out his order when he walked in the door. I ordered myself a 4-piece wing combo and waited with him. Neighborhood folks with their heads dipped low waited as well. People just getting off work looked happy that they'd be eating at the most magnificent flavors at the most magnificent spots that they smelled in no time. Not too long ago, I would come in here with my wife and have late-night meals, he said to me, still glancing toward the street between looks at me. These days, I just have to go looking for her. But it always wasn't looking like that. I don't understand, I told him, just now realizing that he was in need of conversation and someone to have him be listened to, for real. What was he saying? See, she's been taking this medication. It helps her deal with the pain. But I'm afraid it's taken away some of her mind as well. Usually, if she's not home around this time, I go looking for her. How do you know where to find her, I asked. It's not hard. She's always on the same place, in the A train. I know the station conductors by now, all of them. So I just called them to find out what car she's on. At first, it was frightening, but now it's become a habit. He used whatever strength he had in his lungs to manage a laugh that quickly turned into a cough. He washed it away with a thick cherry soda. That's not going to make you any better, I said. I'm good. I'm just keeping track of that woman. It's difficult after my sermons. I try to make sure she only takes a few spoonfuls of medicine at home. But when she goes and takes the whole bottle, well, we get into trouble then. They called out our order, and I got up to retrieve the chicken through the light, bulletproof revolving door at the counter. Doing things like eating fried chicken at late-night spots should be done, and is best done with somebody you love, he said, slowly opening his chicken box like a child hoping to find the gift he had been asking for all year. He passed a picture of his wife across the table, took a bite, and leaned back with the food in his mouth. Here, this is her, he said after swallowing. Well, she looks a little different these days, but the eyes are the same. The eyes are always the same. She's beautiful, I told him. I know. I'm very tired tonight. And if I had not seen you here, I would have jumped on the train myself. But since you are here, since you are young, since you seem like the person who's looking to help, I was wondering if you could do me a favor and bring her home tonight. I feel I haven't had the strength to do it. What makes you think that I would go looking for your wife at this time of night, I said, a little startled that he would ask such a personal favor. Back then, before I was really inside, I didn't understand how the neighborhood worked, how everybody here raised each other because mothers were working and fathers were working harder. They were just gone. You took on that responsibility, and you were part of the block? Well, for them, it was not a want or a desire to be part of something. It was just how life was lived. So if you were walking down the street and someone asked you to get something from them at the store, you went out and did it. If you didn't, there was no punishment, but you were out. And without that, just a resident. Me, I think you're someone who's looking to be part of something, he said. To do that, you need to do favors and walk down paths you're not used to walking. You never know when you'll need me for something. You've been given things you needed but did not ask for, yes? How did you know that, I said? Because she's one of my oldest friends. Has been attending my church for years. Her husband would never come down from his fire escape long enough to listen to the Word of God. He didn't believe too much in any of that. And you, well, I see you up there, banging on your typewriter. You're trying to do what? I'm just trying to empty out my head, I told him, realizing myself at that same moment. It doesn't seem like that simple of a task, though. Nothing is simple like that, he said. You're putting sounds out into the night, aren't you? You're sending echoes through these old blocks, are you not? Perhaps I heard your shouts and I'm answering you with a question that happens to be in the form of a favor. It was you who called out to me from above. But you were asking for God. Maybe I was just blocking his message to you. Perhaps he sent it through you, he said. Do you really think God has any intention of answering you, I asked. I do. I have to believe that. Why? Because, my friend, if I did not believe in any of that, what's my life been about? What have I spent so much time preparing these sermons for and getting these people to believe in what I tell them? No. It just couldn't have been a lie. It just couldn't have been. With that, he grabbed his bucket of chicken, flipped up his collar, and headed home. But during the busy part of the days, the crowd in the subway is so mauled thick there is no space for identity. You're part of the rush, part of the blood that has to feed the city. And if you're lucky, when it's your turn to get out the doors, you have enough of your own mind left to enjoy your walk home and think back over how lucky you were to have contributed that day to the city. However, in the deepest parts of the night, the parts that bleed into the ridiculous portions of the morning, there is enough room to think. Between the subway cars in New York, there's steel doors you can open and close and move from one car to the next. It's in that moment you're riding outside the cars, but inside the tunnels. If you can stand the smell, it's an amazing trip. Though dangerous, because you have no idea what's hanging from the ceilings of the tunnels. The trains could stop suddenly. I saw a youngster selling M&Ms and Starbursts out of a taped-together candy box as he moved freely between the cars. It wasn't until he was gone that I realized he was the kid who had been sitting on the bridge waiting for the sun to come up over Yankee Stadium. On the last car, I saw a woman eating a box of dots and struggling to pick up a pack of Newports that had just fallen to the ground. In the pocket of her jacket, I saw the medicine bottle, like a bottle of cough syrup, open and exposed to the thick subway air. She looked up and saw me recognize her. Oh, here come the come and get her police again. I'm not ready to stop riding. Either that or I can't figure out how I'm going to get out here off this train. Your husband sent me, I said. I'm just trying to bring you home. Well, we are most definitely heading downtown and beyond right now, so you're going to have to wait with me until you get out to JFK if you want to take me all the way back uptown. And that's a long ride. But I have tons of stories to make it better for you. Oh, come on, I was just out there today, I said, sitting myself down across from her. I'm not really in the mood to get back out so soon. So why not just do me a favor and let me take you home? Your husband's worried. No. See, I don't know you well enough to do me a favor, she asked, raising her voice. None of the people around us noticed, as they were all inside their own late-night stories. Did he have my kids with him, she asked, taking a swig of her medicine. We have 4. 4 now. he has so many more with his church.